Mark Kiszla, great columnist for the Denver Post. And, Kiz, let me start with the Adam Schefter news. Broncos quarterback Peyton Manning played Sunday with the past month with a torn right quad, per two sources. Why is this coming out now?
Out of sympathy. I cannot dispute that report, and it sounds right to me, but the quad is not the problem here. It's being 38 that's the problem, and it's been the problem for far longer than a month. Peyton Manning's done. That's just flat out. I mean, he can come back next year, and the decision is his. It's not mine. And he could probably win 10 games in this league next year, but he can't be Peyton Manning anymore. And he knows it, and I know it, and anybody who's been around him each and every day for the last 2 months knows it for an absolute fact. He can be Andy Dalton. He can be Andy Dalton if he wants to be, but he can't be Peyton Manning anymore.
But what happened?
Sometimes you walk around a corner, and Father Time is right there to punch you right in the mouth. And he got punched right in the mouth. Listen. Peyton Manning's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I'm just the guy that sits in the press box and types. So there's a huge gap between what Peyton Manning's achieved and what I have achieved. But my first beat assignment with the Denver Post eons ago was Dan Issel's last year. That's a Hall of Fame basketball player, and I watched Dan Issel pretend to be Dan Issel for a year. I walked out of the building on the last night that Patrick Waugh played goal in the NHL. That might be the greatest goalie of all time. Mm-hmm. I looked in his eyes and I said to myself, that dude's not coming back. I don't know whether Peyton Manning's coming back or not, but I know for a fact he's done being Peyton Manning. Quad, no quad. He can come back. He can fix the quad, but he can't be Peyton Manning anymore.
But, Mark, earlier in the year, what was that, week 5? We were talking about, you said this could be the greatest offense of all time. But then he got old, and age and mortality is no fun, man. and I didn't see it coming in week 5, and he didn't see it coming, but it came, and it came hard. There was a moment in that St. Louis loss, in November, when he was getting pressure, and no quarterback likes pressure. No quarterback likes getting hit. That's hard, and that hurts. But the distinct body language, no mistake whatsoever, was, I'm too old for this stuff. I'm just too – okay, you saw it. There's a third down play in which he could walk to the markers to get the first down, and he threw it high and outside instead. That wasn't lack of courage. That was Father Time on his back. Who tells him? Who's honest with him? Or can Manning be self-exploratory and come to that realization?
Okay, I did ask him in the press conference yesterday, hey, today how were you? He said, I wasn't very good. Last half of the season, how did you play? Not very good. Was that age working? He said, I'm not smart enough to tell you that, but I've always been very honest and more critical of myself than anybody else has. So can Peyton Manning do it? Yes, I think he can. And can John Elway do it? Quarterback to quarterback, man to man? Mm-hmm. Yeah, John Elway can do that.
Would John do that? Should John do that?
John Elway's got to have a heart-to-heart if he cares about the guy. I mean, some people that are listening to you now saying, oh, there's this snarky columnist. What does he think he knows? I'm not being snarky about this. I have the utmost respect for Peyton Manning. And I would go up and tell him, he doesn't care what I think, nor should he care. I say, listen, man, as honest as I can be, you're done. I would be happy to tell him that. I would have told him that yesterday, but his wife was in the hall, and the 2 little kids were there running to him and crying and saying, Daddy, we lost. And I'm like, wow, man, that's life. That's bigger than football right there.
He's Mark Kiszla, Denver Post columnist, joining us. Dan Patrick Show. His column today, The Truth, ? Peyton Manning is done. What about John Fox's future?
That's a harder one for me. The no-brainer in me, and I do. I respect John Fox as a coach way more than a lot of Bronco fans do on this particular morning.
But how does John Elway walk in there and say, hey, man, you won 4 straight division titles, took us to the Super Bowl. I just gave you an extension a year ago, but now get the heck out of my office. Yeah. That would be a hard thing to do. To me, that would be harder for Elway to do than to sit down and say to Peyton, I'm a quarterback, and it looks like you don't have much left in the tank. It would be harder, in my mind, for Elway to fire Fox. But and you guys are very insightful. Somebody floated that story yesterday that said, if the Broncos lose this game, Fox would be open to other jobs. And the man who reported that story is John Fox's best friend in the media. That could get a guy fired.
Where are we after the draft with this Broncos team? If I call you up, what has happened after the draft?
I don't know. Where are you going to find me a quarterback if it is the end of Peyton Manning? I don't want to be harsh about this, but that Brock Osweiler guy, he can't play. Sorry. And a lot of people say, well, we haven't seen him in the NFL. Well, you scout him in college, and I looked at him very closely in college, and I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think he's the answer. So look at the 4 quarterbacks that are left in the tournament.
Yeah.
They're all franchise guys. John Elway knows. It's the first thing he did. He took a chance on Peyton Manning's health because he knows you need a franchise quarterback if you're going to have a decent shot at winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, boy.
Well, boy. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, you got an interesting offseason there, Kiz.
Yes, I do.
Thanks for joining us.
You are certainly welcome.
All right, Mark Kiszla, Denver Post columnist.